Thank you, Prof. Orwa, for joining us for this Footprints conversation. The Footprints is a project where we highlight stories of impact and experience of leaders both in the pharmaceutical industry and the pharmacy profession who have made great strides with the hope of inspiring the next generation of pharmacists, but also improving professionalism and practice in the pharmaceutical industry and sector altogether. And we are honored to have you for this interview today. And thank you for dedicating your time to be part of the conversation. So maybe as we get started, last year, 2023 November, you took your last move out of the professional practice, retiring from Kenya Medical Research Institute. How was the experience for you having worked there for a substantial portion of your career?
Thank you very much for having me for this interview. I am happy that I have left the forum for research for my young scientists who I mentored, and I'm very happy they are doing very well. They still keep knocking on my doors for some advice, and I'm just happy to do it. Now, my retirement, I think it's only 1 month into retirement, or 2 months. I'm just trying to set my ground on really what I can give back to the community, so that we have some projects on the ground, and I still have the young scientists with me together, and we can do something on the ground. So far, I've just been trying to do networks with the people around. You realize I have a background in traditional medicine, and as I think of what to do and how to start with my career in retirement, I'm just looking at actually what is trending now. There is a lot on climate change, and because there's a lot on climate change, how can I contribute to it? So I'm just forming some networks so that we can actually go into the community and do some mitigation of climate change through conservation of indigenous medicinal plants. A lot of these plants are getting extinct, and encouraging us going back to the roots so that we can actually be able to use plants and the plant food to keep us well. So I am getting in touch with some colleagues in agroforestry, ethnoconservation, and we have actually approached Homa Bay County, who have been very, very willing to work with us. So we are just setting standards. On the 9th, I'm going to meet some of these colleagues so that we set a way forward. So I'm looking like, yes, I'm trying to conserve our traditions. So to conserve traditions, because you also remember the book I wrote, which I'm also still trying to sell, I'm getting some colleagues to help me go onto the online, onto the internet, so that they can reach more people. These are also some indigenous knowledge which I am distributing to the community. And by the help of colleagues, you can never work alone. So yes, I think it's going to be very nice. I'm setting the base yet. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to seeing and being part of that journey. And what I can see is you retired, yes, but it's not retiring. It's like a transition from one role to another role. So the research in you, the impact work that you're passionate about, it still continues on another phase, in another journey, which is really fun to hear that.
Yes, yes, you are right. That's how I want to transition. I think that's the best word for it. That's the best word. I want to transition. I know us as scientists, we have been too mean with our knowledge. We have not shared that information. Sometimes we write publications, and so what? It is published. It's our community. benefiting from this information? No. So actually, I learned that when now I transitioned from doing traditional medicine research into knowledge management. I realized, yes, KEMRI has a lot of information, but it is not reaching the community. So that is now, as I'm going out, I am feeling that this is what I should continue doing to ensure that what we have reaches the community for benefits. Thank you.
I think maybe I think we started the conversation, at least we've gotten to know the what we do and all that. It's an opportunity for us also to let our viewers and the people who will be engaging with this one to know who is Professor Jennifer Orwa, what has her career been. So you retired from KEMRI as the Deputy Director, Knowledge Management and Resource Mobilization within that docket. So beyond that, who is Professor Orwa? Maybe just give an introduction of who you are, what you are interested, and the work that you're doing on knowledge management, because you've already hinted into that as well.
Mhm. Thank you so much. I remember we had some meeting with the ladies,
Mhm.
and then there was this presentation asking us, how many of you know who you are? You
Mm.
know, that's a very loaded question. Sometimes we really don't know who we are. And the people outside even could describe us well, better than we can describe ourselves, which I have seen you have done in the recent publications. So, who am I? Jennifer Orwa, a research scientist who, while in KEMRI, I focused on the traditional medicine research, the medicinal plants research. I had the opportunity to get more knowledge and interact with the community at that point, because you cannot do traditional medicine research without interacting with the community. So we did interact a lot with the traditional healers, and here I think I gained quite a lot of uh, knowledge from our traditional healers, the healing systems, and how they do their work. Because this is what we are doing when you come back to, when you pick a plant and come back to the labs, you must actually start by preparing it the way the healers do it before you test on its safety. And of course, you have to also extract. Normally they use water for extraction. So we start from there. But of course there are some active ingredients which may not be able to dissolve in water. So you use some organic compounds. But knowing very well that pharmacy actually started from medicinal plant. Most of the drugs we are using today, the root is from medicinal plants. So they have been used as concoctions. They have been isolated and pure compounds made into drugs. And yes, it has been an interesting journey there. So just before I reached my retirement age, I also got to get the opportunity at the Institute to lead the Resource Development and Knowledge Management Department, where now we are not doing actually the basic laboratory research. We are doing what we call secondary research, trying to research into what people have published, reading it, synthesizing it, bringing it together, and picking up the best publications and see how we can get very good information, the best research information from these, and of course draft it now into a policy brief and whatever can make change to our environment. So yes, it's nice to the way I transitioned from the desk, primary research, into secondary research, because now then I would talk to the community and give them the evidence they need to help. I noticed that sometimes we are like, you would be doing some research in Kisumu. You go back you have very nice information and you only publish it in peer-reviewed journals. But the malaria in Kisumu is still killing the people in Kisumu. We are not going back even with our findings. On the ground. And this is what the knowledge management taught me. And ensure that the knowledge we have gathered helps to solve what should happen to us as enabling them to solve the problems we all now have a lot of knowledge on.
Thank
So
you.
now I retire. I actually retired 5 years ago, by the way, from KEMRI, and I was given a 3 years contract, which then was renewable once, and I opted to renew it for 2 years. And I'm glad when you reach 70, you don't want to continue waking up early in the morning. You want a relaxed life. So I'm glad I stepped out at the time I did.
Good. Thank you so much for that. I think one key thing that you've mentioned that I feel is important is the fact that you are transitioning and moving from doing the technical work, then you move to beyond technical work to now being the secondary researcher and looking at whether the research you're doing is making impact. And then I think it's also setting the stage for the next phase of your career where you're now seeing, I want to impact communities in the next phase, climate change, mitigation, and all that work, which is amazing. And it reminds me of one quote when you look at it from knowledge management and getting with people. You've done a peer-reviewed paper, you've published it in peer-reviewed journals and all that, which is amazing. But the reality is malaria does not read journals. Malaria does not read books. So people will still die. So you have to ask yourself, how does my research translate into an impact that the community finds value in? If that doesn't happen, I think it's something that we need to look into as much as. And which takes me to the next question then. What gaps do you see in the knowledge management ecosystem in Kenya and Africa at large? And how can we close that gap?
Thank you. The gaps are many, but maybe let me just pick one or two which are simple,
Yeah.
which I have actually experienced.
Mhm.
We love ourselves so much.
Mm.
So, me, myself, and I have a beautiful innovation, but I don't want you to know about it. And I keep all that critical knowledge under my desk. Because if you it, but me, even if I keep it in the drawers, it from there and move it ahead, it will still be zero. So knowledge shared is knowledge squared. I share it with you, you know very many things, and you know how you can help me progress. So we need to change our culture. There is a big gap in this, particularly for the scientists I come across. This gap, how can we fill it? Continued sensitization, I hope. I don't know, but it's for you people now with a lot of IT knowledge. You can access everybody wherever they are. Maybe if you continuously try and meet and talk and discuss this and share information, we could change our attitude. Not wanting to do only what is going to help me. We must know that we are there, are using taxpayers' money, and we are using community money. Our brains, whoever taught us, it was not ourselves. That was coming from our teachers, our lecturers, the people who motivated us, the people who are still giving us the chance to continue learning more. So why don't we have that culture of sharing? I think this would be beautiful. And then we should also know that Even if you go to school, you are not just going to school to get the degree. Whatever we learn from there should actually benefit the community. So if we think that far, as I am writing my project proposal, as I am doing my research work in the lab, what I should be asking, looking at actually the vision. I'm doing this for what purpose? And can I achieve it? Because when I achieve it is when actually it's going to have an impact on the. We should stop being selfish. And this actually speaks to many areas where we are not able to communicate and share information. Once we are able to do this, we are very intelligent persons. And just one person, and then let's not wait for somebody to come and change us. We look internal and see how best we can help one another. I think that is the biggest gap I see. Otherwise, a lot of innovations on the ground. Some of them, okay, you protect. You don't want somebody else to access it. But then, how is it going to help if I cannot reach as far as somebody else can? Somebody has the technology. And that's why I see even our uh, Europeans, so to speak, pick, even when I was in traditional medicine, they wouldn't like you to develop a product for use on the ground. They will give you money to isolate pure compounds so that they can take this and go and prepare drugs and come and sell to us expensive. So we should also try as a government to put a lot of funds on medicinal plants research. This is an area where no foreigner is going to help. I know I'm a pharmacist. We have the drug barons. If you come up with the medicinal plants or traditional medicine that's going to treat diseases, then the drug barons won't have anywhere to sell. So I think still it comes back to changing our attitude and loving ourselves and making sure that what we do is for the community, even if it was for the country or the region or even the whole world. Let us do research as we look and focus on what research is going to contribute to the development. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I think the key bit is we need to be generous enough and selfless in terms of sharing that knowledge, because that way then we are getting better at the knowledge that we have and improving on it, working with others. And I think one key bit that you
Yes.
mentioned that I've been keen about is the aspect of education. Are we looking at education as an end in itself by getting the degree, getting the master's, getting the PhD and all? Or what is the contribution of our education to the society that we are in, to the community that we are working with? I think those are critical conversations. But then that moves me to the next question to you. I know you served at in the board of KIPI, Kenya Industrial Property Institute, that is focusing on intellectual knowledge protection, patents, and all that. Some of the times people tell you that I fear telling Professor Jennifer about my idea because I fear she has the financial muscle, she has the right networks. I give her that idea, tomorrow I'll be seeing it already being implemented. And actually, she'll be having the biggest company in the country. And David, with the idea, wouldn't have the money and the networks, will be languishing in poverty. So, how can we help people to make the balance between the risk, but also the ability to translate their solutions to make a difference and share more, being generous with the information?
We must, first of all, understand that everything we do, there is a risk.
Mm.
But we look at what the benefits versus the risk. But if you only look at the risks, you will not even get any benefit out of whatever you are doing. So let's, just have our mentality correct. Water, even the water you drink, if you overdrink it, it is toxic. If you drink the right dosage, it is helpful. So there's risk everywhere. Even our traditional medicines, they are not safe, but then we have to control the way they are used according to the right standards. So maybe that's the only solution we can have, um, of letting our people know, yes, we can try to avoid risks, but anything you do, there's risk. Let us also see what benefits we can have and then get into it. Continue sharing. I am sure I know what you are saying is correct. Some people can run away with ideas. That's correct. But how far do they go? If they run away with some ideas and probably there's another step they don't know, and running away with the idea, they will not feel like sharing with anybody else because they would think that somebody is going to do something bad. But you run away with it, you reach a point where you actually need people to come on board. So it's good, a saying which says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. That African proverb actually speaks a lot. So that's the only suggestion I have. But of course, we can come with more solutions to that kind of thing.
That is also some of those things where people talk about. Maybe you patent your idea, get copyrights for it, whatever it is. Those are options. But the way you
Mm,
said it is very important. When you're looking at the risk, also see the benefit. I remember there's a point I read in some book, and it was saying if you fear the risk, then you would not do anything, because by the virtue that you are alive, you're also at risk of death. Nobody dies if they were never alive in the first place. So everything that we're doing has an inherent risk to it, and we have to be open to the possibility that actually even being alive is a risk of death. So do we stop living because we fear dying? No, we keep moving and keep getting to the best of what we can be. And that is very, very important for us. And the other question that I would be keen to understand from you, as a pharmacist, you are among the second group that graduated from the country. Your career journey from graduating in 1979 to the current moment, what you practice in almost every domain. You work in community pharmacy, you worked in hospital pharmacy, in the research space, and industry as well. You work with GSK at the informatic places, the internship and all. What are some of the key areas that you feel like as young pharmacists getting into practice, we can make substantial impact and a difference?
Thank you very much. You have very many opportunities at the moment. When we graduated, there were very few opportunities for pharmacists.
Mm,
And you would see that pharmaceutical technology started earlier
mm,
and they were large in numbers. So when the pharmacists started the first graduates were in 78, me coming out in 79. We went there with the impact of our knowledge. Now we told our colleague clinicians, yes, we are the experts in drugs. We can assist and help you know how to get the right dosage and make the correct treatment. And they found it, there is that mm, what do I call it? There is a friction between when the pharmacists came in and then when our clinician colleagues were there feeling so powerful that they were the only people in health profession. So they would not have liked to be challenged. So as young persons, it's not challenging the clinicians, but just ensuring the right medicines are given at the right dosage and given to the right persons. So we should actually embrace working together as the health professionals, because of course the doctor will be able to diagnose, you will be able to know which is the best medication for this, And of course, the nurses also come into the system because all of us are working towards making this patient well. So we should learn how to work together. I know now the pharmacists are going into clinical pharmacy, walking around in the wards and understanding and helping the doctors. Actually, they don't now have to, figure out what what medication do I give in what, so these specialties, the pharmacists can continue being specialized in different diseases. I know we have oncology pharmacists. We have actually they had started mostly with those difficult areas where getting the right dosage was difficult. So the pharmacists came in to help. So I believe our pharmacists can still come in to assist on this and advise on the right medication to our patients. And now with the IT, you can reach far. You know better than me how how IT is
Yeah.
pushing this stage very, very far. You have the MDMs. Now you can even have a dosage or a drug that is specific to an individual, not to a disease. Those kind of things now are really improving how best to take care of the patients. And I think we should be looking towards that. And of course, it's not that dispensing, but you don't take away dispensing. In dispensing, there's even a lot of research in dispensing. I always tried to encourage my people. Those prescriptions, if you are okay dispensing at the counter, and maybe you don't have clients, you have a lot of prescriptions. Why don't you just look at them and look at the kind of prescriptions trending, and you can find a lot of information which can help you, correct some of the ill things that is happening. So oh, me, I'm not dispensing. No, you are. You are now going into specialization is also very important so that you have specific medication for specific diseases and specific patients. Let us continue working together with our health professionals, and we will see our impact and value the contribution of the pharmacists. Continue working together and helping the society.
That's amazing. The collaboration, we are all working towards the well-being of the patient. And the patient is
Correct.
me and you, or the person that we know, or somebody else in the community. But they're coming with the trust that we are the solution they're hoping for. If we work together, we'll be able to solve their problems. And love the other bit that you brought in, and I think it's the mentality of a researcher. You're reviewing prescriptions, identify the problems, and you're gathering insights from those prescriptions because you see a set of patterns and trends that are observable that are critical to acknowledge as well. And reminds me of a conversation yesterday I had with one of my mentors as well, Professor Hashmaro, one fellow of PSK as well. I know you know him well. We were fellows together. And in that conversation, we were reviewing and saying, in the recent week, we've seen a couple of conversations around pregabalin in different strengths, different brand names and trademarks that are being registered in the market, and they are becoming many and many every single day. And in that conversation, we got to acknowledge that these prescriptions are being processed in pharmacies. And why is it that more companies are coming into our market and offering pregabalin? Everybody wants to register pregabalin. There is misuse and overuse of pregabalin. Instead of being used as a CNS medicine, people are now getting to a point where they're using it in pain management, and irrationally because it should be neuropathic pain, but now we're using it in every other thing we might want to. And that is something that needs to be controlled. But that is the touch point for a community pharmacist who receives a prescription with pregabalin twice or thrice in a day, which is not conventional. We are observing a new trend. What can we do? I think it's about us as young pharmacists being open to possibilities and seeing the opportunities that come with such kind of advances. And maybe that gives me the next question, because this is a challenge that we're having as young professionals as well. I would want to do that. I would want to gather that insight and nurture it and actually make an impact. But I don't get paid for such kind of work. How do I get resourcing to be able to do that extra work at that moment? Because even unemployment is becoming a challenge to most of us. Initially, government was posting, now we don't have those postings. So, what opportunities exist for a pharmacist? Assuming David is working in a community pharmacy and he would want to gather that data and do some research and generate outcomes from that.
Thank you for that question. I'm telling you, our young people, it doesn't have to be researchers.
Mhm,
We want to finish work
mhm.
and go outside there and start earning big, earning lots of money. I remember even during our time,
Yeah.
because there were so many industries in Kenya, nobody wanted to go into community hospital pharmacy. We all went where we were going to get cars, our children educated, and we all flocked there. Nobody even wanted to go for postgraduate studies. I remember when I was going for my master's, the chief pharmacist himself asked me, Jennifer, what is master's going to bring a change in your pharmacy profession? You see, that mentality. So most of us went out because it was really, really a rich space, getting money. So what I'm trying to say is, let us not always think of money. Money will come. Let us not always think of money. You can do a sacrifice unless there are some big, big, big funds you need to just sit down and collect the prescriptions in your chemist, to sit down and spend time, even overtime in the evening to do it. Let us try and embrace working because we love to do what we are doing. Of course, we need money. But here is a case where, of course, you are earning a salary. You need more money to sit down and spend your extra time. Can we put this mentality a little bit aside and start giving? Eventually, we will get it back. Let's not the first thing come, I have finished, now I have to get money. So I have to look for a big, large company which is going to pay me lots of money. I've loved to be like so and so. Let's not compare ourselves. You are yourself, you have your own identity. Start slow. Even our presidents, they were started by farming chicken. And now it hasn't prevented them to be on top of the nation and get the largest amount of monies they want. So, young boys and girls, please try to learn to give. Even the Lord says, learn to give, not to take. So if you are doing some work without getting extra funds or extra money for yourself, just love it and it will take you far. That is the mentality our young children and grandchildren. At my age, I can call you that, you allow me. Our young girls, our young boys, we should put off that mentality and just try to love whatever you do. You will enjoy it if you love it. Just simple answers I have, but I hope they can have an impact on whatever we try to do.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. It's about loving what we are doing and seeing the impact of it. Ultimately, even in the Bible, it says, the God loves the hand of the giver, not the person who takes. And in service, then you will get the reward of service. The money will come, and the basic level, you have what you need to have a decent, modest living. Live with that, but build yourself to be better. And building yourself is offering to serve and to go above the standard expectation of what you need to be doing. And I love that bit because that is what will make us be professionals of difference, people of value to the communities that we are working. I think that's critical for us. So I'll go back with you again to the work that you did with KEMRI. You are the innovator. the trailblazer, setting new things and all that. One of them being the KEMRI Annual Scientific Conference, Scientific and Health Conference, that is CASH. Then you're also part of the Cochrane Kenya from this establishment. I think now it's expanding to the Cochrane East Africa focus in perspective. Could you maybe just share with us some of the insights around this? What was the basis of coming up with Cochrane Kenya? And how do young professionals, let's say, for example, a farmer who is interested in getting into the tech space, how can they be part of such platform?
Thank you. As I was saying, really, once you love your work, everything falls into place.
Mm.
Even when we started the KEMRI annual conferences, we started with very few people because normally people want to come in when they already see the benefits. We were just sacrificing, but we loved to organize conferences. You see, I even started at the PSK level. I organized quite a number of PSK conferences. So because you love this,
Mm.
you are able to work through without saying who's going to pay you for it. So as I transitioned to knowledge management space, we always talk about evidence-informed decision making. We want the right evidence, and we have to really, we in the evidence space, we look at Cochrane as the best evidence for it. The Cochrane libraries will give you the best evidence that will actually be able to inform decisions in healthcare. So, because when you go into your work, you love it. Cochrane was very young, and we were mentored into actually applying to be a Cochrane affiliate by our South African Cochrane colleagues. So we could work together, they would help us, and they would just see your work as you communicate. And communication is very important. If I write you an email and it takes 1 month to come back, I would have forgotten what I wanted to give you to do. But if I see you communicate instantly, I send you an email and I get a response. You can also just say thank you for for this email. I will look into the matter. That is also very important. Don't stay and say, let me look into this matter and give a response when I have an answer. The person on the other side does not know what you are thinking. Now they just feel this guy is not serious. So we worked together, they mentored us. I was always very quick in responding. I always very quick because as I started it, I had the Cochrane reviewers. We had very critical Cochrane reviewers and contributors in Kenya. So what we did was to look for them. They're already in touch with the Cochrane arena. So the seeking for knowledge in me, I don't have to go to my seniors to ask for assistance. Actually, this is what I call reverse mentorship. If you saw something reverse mentorship. When I was given the job of knowledge management, I actually had no idea what it is. I had not gone to school. I had not learned about it. But I got young people who had done a lot on systematic reviews and all those. And they held my hands. So sometimes I get, you know, praised. But of course, it's Dr. Biambo who has done this work. But I don't leave you. I don't take it away from you. I acknowledge that we are working together with you. So through this, we were able to push and do a lot of the IBM work. So they saw, Kenya is coming up very fast. Let's already leave them the whole region to look after. So that is how now Cochrane Kenya is actually covering quite a number of not just East Africa but other regions nearer the East African community. So yes, it's just the way you learn how to communicate with the people, the way you realize that if you ask what you don't know, you will get it. And let me also tell you this story. When I was given the job at the department, we had actually four directors. I was the fifth. And would you believe it? I knew nothing about it. But then now, just getting in touch with people, collaborating, connecting, and singing the song of knowledge management, the Institute knew that department existed. And that's how we started getting support from the administration and moving far. So that when we even applied to host Cochrane Kenya in KEMRI under the knowledge management department, it was very easy to do. So communication is very important. Working together is very important. Don't say me I can do this, I don't know. There are so many people who know it. Just get around them and they will guide you. So that's how I have been mentored by the young. But of course, I hold, since I'm the one holding the big office, I benefit, but they also benefit. We mentor each other. And that's the way we are able to now run Cochrane Kenya and continue to expand our, what do you call it, our region. Yeah, from just Kenya to East Africa and the Eastern African region. We are even into Morocco. I think we are looking to get in touch with the people who are doing a lot of systematic reviews and evidence synthesis in these countries so that we can connect with them and see what best we can do together. I know the ones in Uganda, they are also already doing a very good job. They are based at Makerere, and we have been working together. They are also mentoring us as we were trying to move along. So yes, it's just working together and trusting each other and loving your job. That is most important. Love your job and do it well.
Thank you
Thank
so much, Prof. I think the putting in the work and communication, I think that communication aspect is very important. Being able to tell people, I don't have the information, but in case when I get it, I'll be able to communicate.
you.
And probably also giving the timelines for that communication. Then you don't give people room to make assumptions on who you are. The people start judging you and labeling you, which is not accurate, but now it will work against you. And the other key thing that I love about what you said is you would be in a position of power, a position in the big office, but you are keen to understand the nuances, but somebody lower in the chain, younger than you, who has the information, bringing them on board, learning from them, and building together so that at the end of the day, when you're transitioning, I'm 100% sure that some of the people who you are working with under your leadership and mentorship are definitely going to steer the institution to ensure the organizational growth and continuity, which is commendable for our workers in most. So based on that feedback that you've shared, I have two questions. One linked to the research component and another one linked to the conferencing aspect. From conferences in the last past couple of years, I've had people talking about conferences are good, yes, but we are not getting value out of them because we take them as holidays. It is a point to take a break from work. We don't do the actual learning. As a young professional, as David wanting to learn as much as possible from the professional conferences and symposiums, how do I tap into the value and what is the value of these conferences in your experience and your perspective? I think that one is something we need to understand more. Then on the other end, from the research work, you published over 80 peer-reviewed journals, including contribution in editorials, book reviews, and all that. What inspires you to do all these?
Thank you. Thank you. Uh, we really have a lot of knowledge of what is happening on the ground. We go for conferences, we come back, we don't even report to those who sponsored us. We don't even share that information with the research scientists around us. We don't even make presentations, and anybody knows why we went. We have gotten up and here. But the best practice is when you go out there, you come back, write a report which can be documented, and then maybe just have some meetings with the relevant colleagues and share the information you got from that conference. And then from there, whoever would, once you have documented them, there are steps to take from where you left or whatever you have gathered. That information must be used. So that's why in cash they had now decided to do this. Okay, we make a presentation and we don't just publish the abstracts, because some of us also reading is not very good. So what they have been doing recently, which is really admirable, is to just collect those abstracts, read them, analyze, synthesize, and come up with the most valuable solutions which these presentations have come with. And this valuable information can be now collected into an evidence brief for the policymakers, and then they can use this to assist making policy for healthcare. Because, like in our health conferences, this is what we do. Malaria or different. And as you rightly say, these presentations, what they do after that is publish, but very few people will reach those publications. In fact, the policymakers on the ground, they are too busy, they have no time to read. Even those who are actually implementing information on the ground. You go and tell a doctor, you go and read 10 publications because before you know which is the best approach to help this condition. They won't have time for it. They have so many patients. They don't have a lot of information and we are not using it. And that's why if we value our knowledge translation, knowledge synthesis, and getting our evidence and communicating it to the right people at the right time, and ensuring following up to ensure implementation, then I think we can have an impact. And I'm very happy that the cash group started doing that, so that eventually whatever everybody else is doing has an impact on policy implementation and yes, to the community. So that is what we should be doing. I know even me, sometimes I go out for a conference, I come back, and of course it was nice. Maybe I use what I got there by myself, but it can't help me unless some people come in also and take some other aspects and run away with it for the help of the community. So let's embrace sharing. Publications, I know we do that sometimes when you are doing your master's and PhD. You want to get your PhD. But of course, that is right. You need to get it. But so what? You are now Professor so and so. Have you even impacted on one person? Have you even mentored one person to take over, those things, then you go away and things just fall apart. You should not be happy. I know some of us would be happy that, oh, I am the only pharmacologist. I am the only whatever. Is I'm the only, but then are you able single-handedly to reach the implementation stage and impact that knowledge of yours? You have to mentor there. Very important. So the young people now start changing the arena. Do your research, get your master's, get your PhD, get your postdoc, but let us look at what this is going to impact. If we do that, I think we will leave the biggest legacy that the people in front, all of us, have left. Just embrace that and we will go far. I think that answers two of your questions, publications and going to conferences.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Interesting about the conferences bit is we leave the conference with very good pictures and beautiful captions. But after
Yes.
the conference, what really happens? What is the outcome? I think maybe that's something that we will discuss even within the PSK groups and also see how do we make the society better? How do we grow the profession? Even with the work that we're doing with African Pharmaceutical Network. So thank you for that as well. And the next question is in line with your role as an editor in chief for the Pharmaceutical Society Journal of Kenya, PSK Journal of Kenya. Through that experience and looking at the developments in the industry, I know most of us as young professionals have not been keen on research and also contributing to that knowledge space. How do we activate that? How do we get more young professionals actually contributing to publications, doing research, and shaping that space? Because my fear is we might get to a point where we only have all literature and all the information, but also dependent on international entities rather than having our local contextualized information that can address our local needs.
Okay. Thank you for that. I know every time I used to attend the PSK conferences, my first communication was, please let us publish in PJK. I know we have tried to get PJK on a wider scale, like now most of the people like, okay, the universities say we want you to publish in a high impact journal, but yes, we can do that. How about meaning publishing in a local journal, and that local journal can solve the local community challenges? More people will access this PJK than course the nature. So you can access it. Sometimes you have to buy to access it. PJK is here for you. And you don't have to be in the research lab, just as I said. Research is not just doing work in the laboratories. There's a lot of research on the ground which we can do and share. So it's still just communicating this every time you have a forum. You just get forums for encouraging our young people to continue writing. I remember when I was doing my PhD, there was this student who could, every chapter of his thesis was just publications. He did his literature search. Of course, with systematic reviews now, you can publish a systematic review on your introduction. That's a publication. You do just one aspect of your research, even if it is extraction of essential oils or that, pick that and publish it. Let us not think that we need to finish the whole thesis before we can get information to publish. We can publish several papers at every step, share information at every step. And this guy, what he did was now to just collect his publications, and he developed a thesis out of his publications. He didn't have to sit down and go back and say, oh, what did I do here? How can I now bring it into perspective? So let us not feel that what we are doing is not enough for publication. Share information as it comes out. So I just encourage you, my colleagues, to embrace, not think of, oh, I must have those chi-squares in my publication, blah, blah, blah. No, just share any information you have. That is a publication, and that is sharing. So we can do that, but we just need to encourage ourselves. Not encourage people, encourage ourselves. But we encourage ourselves by talking to each other and just mentoring each other and saying, yes, we can do this. And then I am lazy there to read. Uh, that you come and tell me, hey, this is nice. It is worth publishing. We can publish it together. You already mentoring me and helping me out of my cocoon to come and bring this out. So I think you have a lot of chances in one of the forums you have. There are so many of them. We can, but I understand you as an editor in chief. We were hoping we could publish 4 issues in a year, but the publications were very slow. So we started by going to universities and just sensitizing, then going to different areas. Let me just put power on. I see my power is going on. So that would have been, if continued, let's continue, let's not forget.
So as we get to it from the research work, getting to encourage more young pharmacists to contribute to research, I think one key contribution that I could make to that is the fact that PSK acknowledging that it might not be easy for people to do full in-depth reviews and publications, provided the newsletter option, that is the Pharma Exchange. And I think that is an opportunity for us also to sensitize people and get them engaged and contributing through writing and dissemination of information. But also another thing that I noted is most of us, for the work we don't look at the dissemination of information as a key component of it. And I believe in your work within the knowledge management, dissemination is important because unless you disseminate it, the policymaker doesn't find it. The key implementer of the intervention, the person who will be doing the day-to-day running of the program, does not get to put it into practice. So those are gaps that we still see, and we are hoping will be resolved as we move along. So drawing back on your experiences from the start to the current place where you are in the pharmacy landscape in Kenya, what opportunities do you see in the regulatory space for the regulator to help the profession, but also to serve the public better? Any suggestions that you might be having?
Okay, thank you for that. Regulation, that's mostly the thorny issue in every aspect. Even us in our professional work, we have the pharmacy ethics. And how many of us follow those ethical principles? We know them, we read about them, and we want money, so we start being unethical. I don't know, this looking for money, corrupt practices is really messing up with our minds, and we are not able to contribute to what we want best. Let us try and regulate ourselves. Let's not try and wait for PSK or PPD to come and tell us what to do. But of course, easier said than done. So that is why the regulators have to come on board and remind us, hey, your practice should be ethical. Bring in products that can help the society. Because if you don't regulate and you go to India and bring, I'm told that in India there's industries who just uh, manufacture fake products. Just, just that to make money out of it. So if those can be regulated, and you get the correct drugs into the country, and that can help us achieve our mission on good healthcare. So regulation is very important. As much as we feel that we want to be regulated, we are human beings. Sometimes we need somebody to remind us that yes, you need to do this. Sometimes we need somebody to equip us, like the children will say, we train you by the cane, and then you toe the line. So those happens. The regulators must be able to do this to ensure that the pharmacy practice is online. And they try to do this, and then these challenges of coming in and loving big briefcases and ignoring what should actually be helping us. I remember a friend of mine told me, yes, you can bring in fake medication because you are going to India, you are going to South Africa to get treatment. But let's say that you are traveling to Mombasa and you get an accident on the road. You will be rushed maybe to the nearest hospital there, nearest dispensary. And then you had already sent fake medications there. They try and resuscitate you, revive you, the drugs are not working. If you just look at that scenario, we should be able to at least give, have the right products for the whole of Kenya, for example. Now we are talking about Kenya. Have the right products for the whole of Kenya. Even if you are going outside, your grandmother, your children, your sisters will access these useless products and will not be able to uh, be healthy in their surrounding, and you must be taking care of them. So you spend a lot of money trying to buy drugs which don't work and keep them going to hospital. So even by the example I've just given, you yourself might be given those who now you can't rush you to South Africa because you are now had an accident in a place where we have to take care of you. So yes, our regulators, they are an important people, and they should actually ensure that they always remind us to toe the line. Yes. That's what regulation is all about. It's not that you see somebody from PPB and you run away. These guys are coming to close my shop. No, don't do that. Just do the correct thing. You don't even have to run away. So they're important. Unless the PSK also, when they are training us on the ethics, we will do the proper ethics so that we cannot be able to do the wrong things, but do the right things that will help the health of the community. Because as we come out, we swear and we say we will protect health and ensure that the pharmacy profession thrives on good standards. Let's keep to our words. Regulation must be there, and they're helpful. It's at least now we are able to get the right drugs into the country, for example.
I agree with you. I think one key thing that is important for us to understand as a society is that regulation is not a them versus us. It has our collective responsibility. The self-regulation that David does the right thing where he's practicing, but also in case he is missing some of the key nuances and the intricacies, the regulator is coming in to support you to be able to be compliant, to be able to achieve the successes that we are hoping for. Because that is the challenge that we need to work around solving in the society. I was watching the news yesterday. I'm looking at the key incident that we just heard about the explosion in Embakasi. It's not a good incident. But there is a regulator, there is the public, the people who are doing the business and all that. Where does our common responsibility in doing the right thing come in, and how do we ensure that we drive a sustainable community where we are looking out for each other, but practicing in an ethical system? Unfortunately, we all understand we are in a country where ethical practices are not as celebrated and they don't reward as much, but this has to be a difference. And somebody has to say, for me, this is what I'm going to work with, and this is what I'm not going to tolerate or accept. And therefore, there's a difference in what we have to practice, and we have to go by that. So thank you so much for that. So I'll go back to the basics. Your journey in career and all the practice that you had. Growing up in a small village in Gilsia County, going to Maseno School, going to Mia Girls High School, and to University of Nairobi. It's a journey that is in staggered steps all through. What are some of the key enablers for you? How has it been? What are the people who inspired you, encouraged you through the childhood that you would give your credits to for the support you've granted in the
Thank you so much. Of course, my parents, of course, I thank God for everything He has taken me through. And God works through people.
Yes.
So if I give you 100 shillings, it's not me. The God is working through me to make me generous. He has given me that 100 shillings to share. So He's working through me. So we thank God for giving us this opportunity to live healthy and well and learned. My dad was an assistant, they called them assistant medical officers during the colonial days. He used to work in the native hospital. It's now KNH. So it looks like we have followed his footsteps somehow, me and my brother. My brother has actually written a script on in the footsteps of my father, because the father was a chest specialist at that low level, and now him has become a chest specialist at a higher level. But still, the father used to tell me, "Hey, you guys, you have learned, but I think I still have more knowledge than you." I remember there was this time I took him to KEMRI for a chest X-ray, and he pulled that picture and looked at it and translated himself. When they are saying, "Which patient is this?" So he loved education, and as I went to school, I started, of course, in the village, and of course, being the last born, I had already been mentored by the people ahead of me. I saw how they were working, and just said, yes, I have to also join the footstep of everybody else, not get pampered. You are the last born now. You have to be crying every time. You can't do this, you can't do that. You want everybody else to do it. But as you are saying, who are you? And as I commented, yes, you make who you are yourself. So I went to school and started my primary. Somehow I loved mathematics. And I've just said how my primary school, when we were in Maseno, there was the Maseno. Those days it was called District Education Board, and it started as Maseno Girls Primary. It started from standard 5 to 7. Those days, was it 8 or 7? I'm confusing those ones. So from there, then you go to high school. So I did my primary school one, of course, at the lower levels. Then I was taken for an interview at Senior Girls. In fact, even now we have a forum for the old Maseno girls, and we still remember some of those things that happened. Though sometimes you forget people, and nice, you wonder how some people have very good memories. You are reminded of the things you had actually not even thought you did, but you get those memories back. So I remember my brother taking me to Maseno and doing the interview, then coming back, and eventually I got into a boarding at that young age. And I, when I went there, I don't know. There is this mentality that children have. I used to have a cousin who didn't like eating meat. And then I just decided I have to be like this cousin of mine. I stopped eating meat. So, with no reason at all. So now here I go to Maseno boarding school, and there, unless you have meat and vegetables, there's not much. So of course I suffered there. I could be given eggs, I could be, but really I had stopped meat for no reason, just because somebody else didn't eat. But then I learned my lesson eventually when I joined high school in near A levels. I had no choice. I said no. I can't
Bye-bye.
continue mental. I can't continue this. I have to just go full blaze and have my proteins properly. Of course, there we had a lot of nyoyo, maize and beans. And then I became so fat. Now eating a lot of proteins. And it was nice. So, and the children used to be bullied when they go to school, and boarding particularly. Somehow, when I arrived, I don't know, I had these, the big bullies. They just took up to like me. So they really protected me. And I passed without experiencing the boarding school bullying. But then now from there, I went to high school in not Maseno, in Kisumu Girls. Those days it was a day school. So I did not have to experience the bullying. So we would go and come. And then from there, when I was now going for A levels, although when I was in Kisumu Girls, I was dreaming of becoming a lawyer. Then, not that you know what this all involves, but as a child, you must have a dream. So I was dreaming of becoming a lawyer. But then, of course, now A levels started in me, science. So I got to be called to the pioneer. That's where I started this pioneering business early. I got to start pioneering A levels, science. In fact, those days we used to go to Maseno University for science class, for chemistry classes, and But well, Mia has gone far and now produced a lot of bigwigs. Right. The primary and secondary school had started earlier. It's just these A levels which we now pioneer. So that is what brought me into science. Not that it was my dream, but of course I loved maths. I loved physics. Not much of chemistry, but well, but I hated history, though I was dreaming for non-science one. So I had the chance now when I was called to go to there for A levels, and it was science, and well, my science journey started. And when we were going to the university, I know there is a friend of mine in Kenya we were talking and discussing, and then she was telling me, in medicine, you go and deal with the dead bodies. So we started talking and we just got fear of, touching the cadavers. Of course, now pharmacists do it. But when we started, the pharmacists were not doing a lot of anatomy.
mm,
So that is where we got, and that cold feet of applying for medicine. So I applied for pharmacy. And of course, those years, the pharmacist, you could change from pharmacy to medicine, but not from medicine to pharmacy, because they were taking the highest qualified persons for pharmacy. So we joined pharmacy, and the journey started from there. And I don't regret. I know following the footsteps of my father and my brother, I would have gone into medicine, but I don't regret. Pharmacy is a beautiful profession, and you can do wonders. And we are the best researchers, by the way. And medicine started by pharmacists in those old age. So you are in a space where you have the highest opportunity to lead the medical profession. So great. I had my pharmacy class. We were in Chiromo earlier. Then when we went to Kenyatta, the pharmacy we started, we were in the mortuary. You know that that post office building used to be a mortuary.
yeah.
So it was turned into classes.
Mm,
So the pharmacy class now when we joined the medical school. Unfortunately, it's not so nice that we have not been able to grow. But I am sure the young pharmacists can let our environment grow. Because during those days, and I think the mentality of our old persons, that mentality of not wanting to leave a legacy for everybody else. You are just looking at what you get. Those days, if you wanted to build a big campus, you would have. The pharmaceutical industries were rich, they were wealthy, and they could contribute a lot. We would get funding from outside. But I don't know who to blame there. We didn't do well. So I'm praying you guys. I know we started another building in KMH. I don't know how far it has reached, but I'm just begging the young pharmacists to see how best we can be in a proper environment, university environment, to encourage learning. That, as much as we have failed you, I think you can take it up and build
beautiful
the
question.
structures. You know, when you are in an environment which is conducive to learning,
Mm,
you learn better. So see how best you can do it. So of course I finished my degree, and we went into internship. My hospital section I did in Nakuru General Hospital. Uh, of course, my we used to go to the industry also, which I had an opportunity to do in GlaxoSmithKline. I was in the quality control area. Of course, community I did at Chemitex, one of the oldest pharmacies, which belonged to Dr. Njogu, the late Dr. Njogu. And what else? Yeah, those rounds in hospital, in industry, in community gave us a wide range of. There's a lot of noise. I hope it's not disturbing. Gave us a wide range of understanding the different fields in in pharmacy. So as we started, as we finished our internship, now I went into employment. Of course, I got employed in KNH at the main pharmacy. And eventually, I had the opportunity to get a Commonwealth scholarship to go and do my master's, which I finished in 84. This was 83 and it was a 1 year master's. So I did that at Chelsea College, University of London. Now they call it King's College. So I went and did my master's there in pharmacology and came back to the hospital, at least got some. Of course, those days we never used to get promotions with a postgraduate, but I was happy. I came back, sat on my chief pharmacist office, and implemented the little knowledge I had gathered. But most of it now, the transfer to KEMRI made me actually implement a lot of the pharmacology. So I came back 84. I got my master's in 84, and then 85, KEMRI advertised for positions. And that is when the Center for Traditional Medicines and Drugs started. And of course, there was our lecturer, the late Kofi, who had moved to Cambridge to start that section. So of course, he managed to get quite a number of us from the School of Pharmacy. And after those interviews, we were able to join him. He joined KEMRI in 1985 August, and that's how long I stayed there. I know people are running to go to the industry to get money. They would ask me, Jennifer, why are you staying in one place for so long? I remember you, my friends, when I were going for PhD. At this age, you are going for PhD. What for? But you know, when you come back, it makes a big difference. A big, big difference, those papers. Now people start looking for you. You don't, the jobs are just coming. Like when I went to USIU when they were starting the pharmacy school, they were looking for me. They needed people, pharmacists with PhDs. They were very few because the money had spoiled all of us. So we all ran into the industry. Nobody wanted to go further. So I had that opportunity, and in fact, gotten to assist in starting the pharmacy department at USIU. And just I took a sabbatical leave from Kenya. So I just went back. But of course, in KEMRI, we were doing a lot of research. We were also mentoring. We were also teaching at ITROMED. So I had all the experiences they needed. And of course, publications. That's what universities look at. So they said, wow, we will take you in as an associate professor of pharmacy. So straight on. And in fact, I took 2 years there. The third year, I was going to get my full professorship, but then I thought, home sweet home, let me go back to home. Because it was when I retired. Now they gave me 2 years, Cambridge gave me 3 years contract. So I said, why not? Let me go back home and continue with my work. So I don't know whether to call myself, because I had taught, I loved it. I got my professorship, and the only thing I hated about teaching was marking manuscripts, marking students, particularly essays. Essays, I don't know how this Sheng kind of spoiled the English language of our youngsters. So you would try and look at a student composing an essay to answer maybe a pharmacology paper or whatever. Hey, you could give them zero if you were so strict. just have to read in between the lines and say, so that's the bit I hated about it. Having to mark and, look at both the human side of it, look at the professional side of it, and too many papers to mark every time. So I said, let me go back to the comfort of my research. And that's when now I actually also even left the desktop and went to the knowledge management department. Yes.
That's been
And
amazing.
then,
It's a journey by itself in the sense that you've walked every step of it to where you
yeah,
are. And all along you are making choices. Intentional choices, looking at what is it that we're looking at, how is it going to make a difference. And you're not driven by the trends in the market as it is. People would be like, the industry has money. Why don't you go for the money and leave KEMRI? The way you're saying it. Those are things that come into our lives, and I think it's about us making those tough decisions that need to be made as young professionals in Machina. It is very important. And I think there's something that I just wanted to ask is you as well, as we come to the end of the conversation. You've written a book on Luo cultures, the rituals and dogmas and everything, Chike called Kweche Mag Luo. What was the motivation behind the book? And what do you hope the impact of the book would be to the people who would read it?
you got disconnected a little bit. I hope I heard you well. You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello? Okay. I suppose you want me to say the motivation and what the content of my book is, right?
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. What was my motivation? My first motivation was after getting this knowledge of preaching documentation. Document, document, document. And then also my background in traditional medicine. If we talk about traditions, they encompass everything, not just the traditional medicines, but includes a lot of traditional knowledge our great forefathers had. And this one just one time I just said, yeah, I'm encouraging people to document. Here we are losing a lot of our traditional knowledge. What is it that I can do to help document this before the owners? Because they are going away. Most of that knowledge, as they say, is now 6 feet under with our great forefathers. So I said, yeah, we are African people. We are really blessed with a diverse culture, distinct from each other. And so the lower cultural values and beliefs used to define our moral standards. So we existed very peacefully in our homes, but these things we see them now fading away with our modern behaviors, overtaking, those cultural values with really devastating effects. Like now, we are now in the millennial generation, or it has gone to Generation X.
Now we are in Generation
They will
X.
not, they will not know how we lived before and how those rules and dogmas helped us actually look for each other and work together and live in a healthy environment. So this is what made me tell the story of the ways the Luo ancestors, our forefathers, managed to guide their homesteads. Those days we didn't have written laws and regulation, but it is the people the heads of the homes, would ensure that the children are born into a home in a good environment, they are principled, and they followed those practices. So these Luo rules and dogmas, I call it in the Luo Chike Gikweche Luo, These were guiding our communities to live well. And I thought I would put this into a 10-book chapter. A small one is only 100 pages. It's but 10 chapters. So suppose I started with the preamble in chapter 1, looking at just introducing why I was writing it. Then went on to introduce the traditional practices that home building a homestead, you have to have a home to call it a home. So even during the construction of these homesteads, there were rules to guide them. Otherwise, you will never have a home in peace. So we looked at what traditional practices were observed during the construction of the homes. I also looked at the practices that ensured that the home was well protected. We had what we call evil spirits, which would come into our home. I know these exist, and of course, probably the Christians don't believe in it, but these things are also in the Bible. If you read the Bible well, you would find that most of our cultures were originated from the Bible. We used to have ceremonies that would be performed to bring blessings to the homesteads. I captured some of these. And our homestead, we needed to ensure there is food. So there are also our cultures that help us ensure that the homestead was food secure. There would be some calamities that would befall the community. There were those who were selected to be able to know what to do and advise the community how to remedy things that would come. We would find that there were deaths. Probably the deaths were because of diseases, but there were ways the communities used to control this so that not many people die. The wars we see now were also there. Of course, you find that some community would come in and attack, but then our forefathers knew how to protect this so that they could continue living in peace. So I have detailed a little bit of the customary laws that every member of a homestead must adhere to prevent any ill spell in the family. I've also described the different ancestral spirits and their powers. There's different people with different powers, with different superpowers. I have just described the different cadres. I have given also a small brief on chapter 9 on how the Luo ancestors ensured the prosperity of the homestead was protected. And home is best. You must have a home, and your homestead must be protected. Even that house we have in the cities, they are our home. We must make sure we live in our home. Imagine you come back from work, you are tired, you come, you are fighting in the house. The following day, you go to work with that kind of, you know, tense, which is fighting. You think you can have a peaceful mind to work? No. Then in my final chapter in this book, our forefather used to work to teach the children. But when they talked, they did not want to talk long sentences. Their words of wisdom came out in proverbs. And you find that in our new community, we have a lot of proverbs. So our forefathers did not want to give us, narrate all these things in long, long sentences. But they used to give us this training just by having short proverbs. And you have to know what they mean so that you can understand what this old man is trying to tell you. Now, actually, I came across another book, another Luo book. Somebody has just itemized all the proverbs. And of course, the books, you can't put everything. So now, as I'm making contacts, even with the authors, even with the Luo authors, I'm learning quite a lot. I'm learning what I missed. And yes, I have been directed to where the Luo books are being sold, where I can get quite a number and see what has been done and think of what I need to do in my next Luo issue. I know people are asking me to translate it into Luo, but sometimes you love your culture. And let's also make the Daktaris who claim to be Luos and they can't even speak it.
Let them
It
learn the
will
Luo
also
language.
you will also read it and learn.
Yes.
Apart from learning the culture, you will also be learning a lot of the Luo there. So I don't know. You haven't had a copy yet?
I have my
You don't
copy.
have a copy yet?
No, I
Great.
my copies, yes.
So
The two of them, one
yeah,
for my
so
dad and one for myself. But I think it would be good
great.
to also just share with some of our viewers who would be glad to know how they can get it. Where can they get them?
Mhm. I have already contacted Nuria bookshops,
Mhm.
and they shared with me a link. You can order from there, just through that link, and then you get it. So I will ensure that I sambaza that link to every platform.
Okay. Share it with me. I'll
Yeah,
also share it with these
yeah.
videos I'll be sending out to the
Great,
viewers. I'm
great.
asking on each and every one of our viewers who would be interested to learn about the Luo culture, the Luo ways of rites and passage and all that. So buy the book and read from it as you also get to promote our local cultures as communities. So thank you so much for that, Prof. As we come to the end of the conversation, I would be glad to hear from you. What would be your advice to a young pharmacist or a young professional starting off their life?
Mhm. Thank you. My advice to a young professional, young pharmacist, identify who you are first. Once you have identified who you are, you can decide on which direction you want to take. That is why I normally tell some parents when a child tells you, I want to take, for example, engineering, don't force them to go into medicine because probably that is not what they are going to love and contribute. Somebody told me a story where another young lady was forced by the parents to do medicine. She actually did her medicine, completed, and took the certificate to her mother. You wanted this, now take it. She went and did what she loved. So I really, yes, I am happy our young professionals know what they want and they take what they want, and what you want, you are passionate about it. So just show some passion in what you are doing, and as I have said here, focus on what contribution whatever you are doing is going to impact the community where you live. And let us have that culture of working together, that culture of love, that culture of holding each other's hands. We will learn a lot from each other and forge ahead even in what we want to do. That's the best way. Go in peace, work with each other, love your work. You already know what you want, you professionals. You have already taken your professions far, and some of you have even gotten into masters and whatever. So you know what you want. Just nurturing into, you know, something that will help the community and have an impact. you know how to do it. That one I can't tell you. All I need to tell you is just look ahead and focus on leaving a legacy that is going to work and help the health of the community, even the living. You know, the health comes from foods. As I'm telling you, I want, as much as I want to plant medicinal plants, I must encourage also the food plants, the vegetables, the fruits, so that we make foods our medicines, not medicines our food. Let's try and see how best we can do that. Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure learning from you, listening to you, and also having a conversation where you see there's so much that we can do, and the potential is in us as young professionals. When we're learning together, we are sharing with each other. And it's also an opportunity for you to share with us because we didn't know all these answers, we don't know all the answers, and there's no need for us to make some of the mistakes that have happened already. If we can learn from you, we can get better. So encouraging most of my young colleagues and young professionals in your journey, collaborate, most importantly, know what you want and commit to pursue it by the value that it is making a difference to the communities that you serve. Thank you so much, Professor Orwa, for being part of the conversation. And I look forward to future engagements. And I'm hopeful that from the work that you're doing as you transition from mainstream professional work to the other passions and interests that you have to make a difference to the community, God gives you the knowledge, the energy, and the strength to be able to achieve all those aspirations. And we'll be cheering from the sidelines as much as we can. And where we can engage actively to support, I'll be more than glad to be part of that journey. Asante sana.
Asante sana. Thank you also for calling upon me. I love it. And you have improved my CV by one stage. Sharing. I've been able to share this information. And also, as I talk, I remember some of the interesting things, and that is very useful. Normally, we grow from our mistakes. Just as I was telling you, we had done a mistake of really ensuring that we have a beautiful environment in the structure of the school. Learn from that mistake and go ahead. But thank you so much for having me, and I love it. I appreciate it. Next time, maybe I will have already made Homa Bay County environment savvy. Then I will talk about it.
There's always an
Thank you.
opportunity, and it only happens when we put in the action and get it moving. So thank you so much.